Welcome to the Small Business Breakthrough Podcast, where every week we are interviewing guests that are small business owners supporting a small business network. Now, with this week, we have a special set of guests who were a small business at one point, but they have grown, and we're bringing on a pair. We've got Billy, who's the CEO and founder, along with his cohort, VP of Marketing, Brian, with SearchLogic, and they specialize in driving traffic to your websites. They're mostly after medium and enterprise businesses. However, they were a small business once, and they have a brand new product that they want to talk about on this podcast. So without further ado, let's bring them in. Billy, Brian, how are you today?
Doing
Doing
great.
well. Appreciate
Welcome, everyone.
appreciate you having us.
Great. Billy, give us that quick introduction to what SearchLogic is and a little bit of your inspiration around why you founded it and the clients you serve.
Absolutely. So SearchLogic is a 13-year-old marketing agency. Started with a partner of mine. We saw a need in the market for really more transparent, more honest marketing practices within our industry. And since then, we've grown really, really well and have learned more and more about the industry. We're very technical, so it is a little bit difficult at times for us to um, not use the jargon of our industry. So I'm gonna do my best here. But yeah, at the end of the day, we help customers manage their ad dollars for platforms like Google, Facebook, YouTube, and other ad platform networks. And the goal is to help you increase your revenue profitably utilizing those ad dollars.
Excellent. And you've been growing, you've been building. You started it, you said 13 years ago, which makes for quite the feat. You've seen the experience of all of the different technologies that are going through it. And at some point you decided to bring Brian into the picture. What was the inspiration and the spot where you're like, okay, I got to start growing this and bring in some smarts?
Yeah, absolutely. So Brian's been with us. I always forget this, but I believe it's about 8 years.
Yeah,
Brian,
with 8
correct me
years.
if I'm wrong.
Yep.
Yep. And
2015.
Yep. And Brian brings a really important and invaluable skill to the operation. He's a very technical marketer. He knows how to connect all of the dots. And as we were growing, we recognized that as our industry evolved itself, we would 13 years ago, paid advertising, Google ads, Facebook wasn't around. There were Facebook ads, I suppose. But Google ads was very elementary. You put up some keywords, put up an ad, you're going to get that traffic. As people became more sophisticated, more and more businesses joined the network. It became more challenging. Plus, Google's always changing, the industry's growing, it became more technical, and you needed to have a higher level caliber of individual managing accounts, developing and building strategy. And Brian is the one that really helped take SearchLogic to that next level. So from there, the key component that we were looking at is if you have purchased a keyword online on Google and somebody clicks your ad, goes to your website, and then fills out a form or purchases something, that customer data is going to go into a CRM, customer relationship management software, HubSpot, Salesforce, etc.
Yep.
Once they're there, how can you tie the revenue from that customer back to the ad dollars that you spent in order to achieve or acquire that customer? And through a lot of different technology and a lot of what Brian brings to the table, we're able to do that in large part across a lot of different ad platforms. There are challenges more as of recent with privacy and things that are changing, but it
Yep.
is definitely the area that Brian has been able to support our customers the greatest over the last 8 years. And certainly I can prove that up until the point that Brian was there, shortly after, we just started to serve our customers at a whole nother level, which was required. Our industry was crowded, so we needed to differentiate ourselves.
Yep.
Absolutely. That's hugely important. And Brian, maybe you can dive into a little bit of this part of the question of that importance of being able to tie metrics back to that ad spend, because a lot of people just throw spaghetti at the wall, I guess is the term, which is
Yep.
I'm
Oh,
going to
yeah.
throw $2,000 into ad spend for the month, and we're going to hope we're going to hope the phone rings more. And that is really a bad strategy of what
Yep.
it's like. How can you maybe explain a little bit of like the purpose inside of the ads, being able to track that ad spend down and really truly understand your CAC or customer acquisition cost?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the big thing with marketing is um, we consider ourselves performance marketers. And performance means, can you track it? Did it happen? Can you prove it? Right? Traditional advertising is really a lot more. You put an ad on TV and you get a bunch of impressions. And if people see it, maybe they'll do something. Whereas the benefit of what Google and Facebook and all these other platforms do is they bring to the table pixels and tracking data that allow you to actively say this person took this action on the website and then made this sale. And we can teach AI. Basically, Google's had their algorithms for years now. I mean, probably their algorithm has been established for a good 15 years before AI ever came into the picture, right? So you have to give that information to Google and Facebook and TikTok so that they can recognize what you see as success and make a better decision for you. And oftentimes we've noticed a lot of small businesses don't recognize the value of tracking phone calls. We partnered with CallRail a long time ago to make sure that we could actually track calls at a keyword level. So we know exactly what calls are coming in and what keyword made that happen. And the other thing about this is like Google got to a point where they realized that you needed a developer to really get basic code on your website. And a lot of small businesses didn't have a developer. So they tried to create systems that made it easier, but it actually made it more complicated because then you have a bunch of things happen with GDPR and privacy and identity resolution and all that kind of stuff. So what Google has then done is made things a lot more black box, which means they don't tell you how it's done. They just say, trust us. Right. And being in the industry since I've been in digital marketing with Google since 2007. And back then you could see everything. Right. But now PMAX and all this smart campaigns, it's just trust us. And so we've gone from, as a marketing company, being an advocate for Google and saying, Google's great, you got to get on Google. Now we're actually working with small businesses to say, listen, don't get taken advantage of. Google will spend as much of your budget on display and non-performance focused channels as they can, because that's where their margin is. And they're not going to tell you they're doing it. They're just going to have you put it in a smart campaign, hit play, and hope to best that you're going to get leads. And the challenge we've seen with that is that most business owners don't realize when they're getting taken advantage of. And so we've kind of really come to the play of being advocates to now being client kind of guardians and saying, hey, that's a bad call. Don't do that. Like you really need to watch out because this could be problematic.
Yeah, so finding a resource out there that has your back, because it is confusing. It's very and maybe not even as much confusing as it is overwhelming. Like,
Yes.
there's lots and lots of YouTube videos or different blog posts out there on how to do all of these things. And a lot of them
Yep.
are really just read the directions and follow them. However, it's very overwhelming when you start to get in all of the different technical pieces of the puzzles. If you've ever opened your laptop ready to grow your business and 2 hours later closed it, realizing you've got nothing done, but you've researched office chairs, you've ordered lunch, and you've planned out the next 3 dinners, all the things that you wouldn't typically do to work on your business. Yeah, I've done that too. I'm Jason Pond. I'm the host of the Small Business Breakthrough Podcast, and I want you to achieve your breakthrough. But we do that through the community I built. I built the Momentum Community. The Momentum Community is a place where we meet every week. We talk about your goals, where you want to get with your business, and then we track them. And we use the Momentum dashboard to do that. We make sure you're moving forward every week, and it's accountability like you've never seen in a community forum. I want you to be part of that community. If you want to learn more about it, check out the link in the description below and enjoy the rest of the episode.
Yep,
and so
it really
what have you guys done to continue? You've said you've already started to go down the road of you're helping the client with the understand those and don't get taken advantage of. What are some of the things that tactically you have done? And maybe Billy, you can jump back in and and dive into some of the things you're starting to do to help small businesses that are really on that cusp of jumping up into a medium business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually want to go back to a point that you had brought up about throwing the spaghetti against the wall with a $2,000 budget. SearchLogic, as a whole, we typically are working with customers who have ad budgets of 50 to 250,000 a month. Um, we have customers who are spending a million or more a month. But what we've come to recognize is, and you mentioned this at the start, Jason, uh, we were a small business once, and we have legacy accounts that are small businesses as well, and we love working with them. It's very tangible when we see results, we see growth. We're talking to the owner, the founder, somebody right shoulder to shoulder with them, and we see the benefit of the work we're doing firsthand. And I just wanted to specifically call out one thing when we are working with smaller businesses in that, let's say, $1 to $10,000 a month range. One of the
In
things
spend, not revenue.
Thank you. Yes, in ad spend. One of the things that's really important to understand is to be very clear on what is considered success. Because the smaller and the tighter your budget, the fewer things that you can kind of manipulate and track, or track's not the right word, but optimize towards. Whereas if you have, $200,000 a month, you're going to have 5 different platforms. You're looking at this, and this. You're watching progress as you're adjusting small things. So to the audience that is that $1 to $10,000 a month, it's very important to pick one or two things. We want to increase traffic to our site because we know once that happens, then we can get greater conversions by focusing on that. It could be we want to start selling 5 widgets a month. We haven't even sold one. We want to sell 5, rather than, all right, we're going to be doing all of these things. Well, the tighter the budget, the smaller the focus needs to be. And then you take those learnings and you incrementally grow them. So with that, in fact, this is relatively recent within the last 6 to 12 months. Brian and I have been at the drawing board trying to figure out how can we offer a solution for small businesses that's, to that point, very clear in what you're getting and very clear in what that result's going to be. And so we've been kind of behind the scenes packaging some things together, and we've come up with a couple different offerings for smaller organizations that will help get them to the table, compete with their competitors who are likely already doing this, and incrementally grow and scale their organizations so that they can get to that that next level. Brian, I don't know if you want to kind of dive into the details of what that looks like, but
Sure. Yeah, so we have a couple things we've been looking at trying to really kind of help those small businesses approach, market viability. So the one thing we put together was a handbook that we have available called the Digital Marketing Handbook. And we approached it in a way of, if you're a 90-year-old man and you just started a new business and you need to know about marketing, what are you going to do with that? So that's something we're offering for people right now for free. We're going to probably release it on Amazon for like $10, but we are giving it away to people for free for now, kind of as an advanced reading copy. And that is meant to give a lot of the years of experience that we've dealt with, kind of boiled down into like brass tacks, not really marketing jargon, but like supposed to be someone who's not interested in marketing at all. How do you actually relate? So that's one thing we've done just as kind of like a freebie. The other thing we're looking at is how do we take clients who have, a $5,000, campaign budget, right? They've done some investing. They're being successful enough where they have the money to do marketing and they want to invest. How can we bring that person to the table, make sure that we're not consuming most of that budget through fees and still giving them a really good level of service? So we're working with our expand product line to maximize and expand XP&D, expand your brand, expand your market line. We're working with that product line to really help small businesses get into digital marketing. We have different solutions, whether it be a one-time setup where we're just getting them set up for success. Do you have the basics? Like, are we talking fundamentals, digital foundation 101? And that doesn't have to have ad spend. That's just literally consulting at that point. Can you be successful with your current setup? What needs to be done so you can? once you know you can be successful, the foundation is built. We have packages we can run that are built around the idea of volume and scale. Usually a minimum ad spend we have is around that $5,000 mark, because we realize at anything under that, we're going to eat up way more of your marketing spend with fees. So we don't want to do that to you. We want to make sure that you're getting a good amount of your ad spend being put towards the main thing, which is getting you business, right? So that's the second thing we're looking at there. And then the third thing we've done is try to teach clients to understand how marketing is just a math problem. You look at, a Google cost per click. It used to be around $1 or maybe even 50 cents, right? But nowadays, cost per clicks are ranging anywhere between $1 to $150 per click. And most small industries, depending on your business, you could be a small business and still be a lawyer. And lawyers typically are dealing with $50 to $100 to $200 a click. So you have to think about it as a math equation. How many clicks does your business need to be able to get one person to actually click, sign up or convert on the website? How many conversions do you need to actually get a sale, right? And how much is that sale worth? Now, if you understand how much that sale is worth, you can reverse analyze and say, okay, I need to put 15 to 20% of that sale, that revenue, back into my marketing. So teaching people how to recognize where to pull money from their profitability to reinvest back in the business so that they can continue feeding the funnel. Because a lot of times people don't realize that if they don't continue feeding the monster, it's just going to starve and you're going to end up having no business whatsoever.
Yeah, that's been one of the biggest things that we've seen. So my history has been in broadband, and we've always had that just have to pick up the phone and take the order. And not a ton of marketing has been all about awareness. There's not
Yep.
really been any massive tune to go about it. And now not only are they having to figure out marketing, they have to learn how to do actual sales, because you're starting to need really professional salespeople to be able to close deals as really serving the customer forward, which is real. It sounds like what you're working on with Expand is really creating a good market for the small businesses to get in there and go with it. And I love the fact that you guys still hold true to understanding the roots of small business and grow up through it. Billy, talk to me a little bit about you. You've been at this for 13 years. You started on your own and or with another partner and started to grow the business. At what point, like, was there a triggering element where you made the switch and you went from that you can remember where you went from I'm doing day-to-day work in the business to that flip of, okay, I am the CEO and we're going to grow this business up into this ability to serve these medium enterprise customers?
Yeah. So I actually owe quite a bit to my partner who I started the company with, because when we started it, I was very immature. My desire was, and it's a joke now, but I wanted to sit on the beach. I wanted to make $10,000 a month, and I wanted to work a few hours, go surf, call it a day. Um, and my partner, he had more of the no, we're going to grow something, we're going to make something cool, and we're going to be making more than $10,000 a month. And so I owe a lot to him for that. But I think when I personally, when I realized that this industry is growing so fast and the advancements within the industry are going at a clip that I almost couldn't keep up with, I recognized I need help. I need support. We need to bring in talent that can do this at a better efficiency than I can. Therefore, I can focus on really thinking about where the industry is going, what is next, trying to, in some ways, predict the future. And, as Brian alluded to earlier, one of those elements is I firmly believe, whether Google would admit this or not, I don't think Google ultimately wants agencies managing ad dollars. I think the more that they could do themselves, more black box they can make it, the better for them, right? So there's an element where is my agency going to be in 5 to 10 years from now? That same question existed 5 to 10 years ago for me then as well. What is the next thing? How am I going to stay in front? So by bringing that talent to the table, when I recognized in myself that this is not a skill that I can do well at the growth of the industry, at the rate of the growth of the industry. That's when I really needed to up level what we were doing. And we brought in a couple of people early on, really helped us get to that next level, advanced and grow. Brian comes to the table, advance and grow. And it's been a roller coaster. I mean, for every business, right? Ups and downs. Um, Brian mentioned it earlier. We went through a period where we were not investing in sales and marketing, and it hurt us really badly. and
Yeah.
we learned.
That's a critical element to, coming off of even what we had talked about just a little bit ago, where you invest in marketing, you get some sales, you stop investing in marketing, you stop getting the sales, and now you have to. It's this big roller coaster of up and down and up and down and up and down. And getting into more of a trajectory is how I think a lot of small businesses go through stuff. Um, One thing I want to hit on real quick here before we jump into our lightning round. I typically ask about the future, but in this
Mhm.
case, I actually, based off of what you were just talking about, I want to give the audience a little nugget around what, you said 5 and 10 years ago, you were looking ahead to, and so you were looking ahead saying, where are we going to be at now? Where did you end up? How did you end up where you thought you were going to end up? Or did you end up on a completely different playing field?
That's a really good question.
question.
I don't know if I've ever been asked that or reflected on it. Um, 5, 10 years ago, and I would say closer to 5 years ago, we started to make this play into schools and universities. So the company started in Oregon, University of Oregon. We were trying to pitch. We worked with several local colleges around there. We had a year-long contract with Rice University, their School of Business. So we had kind of come to know and understand that the university structure. And as we were doing that, we had the experience where one of these customers worked with us for a year, spent about 30,000 a month. So at the end of the year, you're pushing half a million, our fees included, and they did not renew. And we asked them why, and they said, "Well, all the leads that you produced through your work never once were followed up." And we sat there and went, "So we just got axed because you guys didn't do your job. We did our job, you didn't." And it was at that moment that we had this insight into, all right, we need to know and better understand this entire process, not just driving the traffic to the website. And this was all very similar to the time in the industry where you were no longer able to just get a laptop in your garage and start an ad agency. You had to be more sophisticated than this. You had to look into your CRM, the sales process, the nurture plan for email marketing, retargeting.
Demand generation.
Yeah, and which led us to, okay, this thing called demand gen. What is demand generation? And how can we pivot our messaging and our services to help people in demand gen? So now flash forward to where we're at now. I would say that we've by far exceeded where I thought it would go, but technology has assisted in that. What's available today, I didn't recognize as possible then. I just knew there's revenue being generated, and we cannot put this back. We can't prove what we're doing to tying it to the revenue directly. We can show a halo, causation or correlation rather, but not causation. So now we're at a point where, in large part, there is a direct cause to the work that we're doing. And so I'd say that we're past where I thought we would be, but we're very much in that same channel.
Yeah, that is very important. And what I want the listeners to really dig into and listen, catch out of that nugget is there was a vision, which is required in small business if you want to grow and have people working for you. Like you can't have people where there is no vision, the people perish, right? That
There you
is
go.
biblical terms. And so it's without a vision there, you're not going to get the people in. But to realize that when you put forth a vision, sometimes In most cases, when you're really putting the effort forward, you're going to hit it or far supersede it. However, it requires effort. It requires consistency multiplied over time. Like it is just go, 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 go. And it's not a lottery win type situation. But here's proof. Billy has built this business from the ground up. 13 years. It's not an overnight success. It's 13 years of hard work. And he's built a great company that is working with billion-dollar companies. So if you don't think you can do it as a small business, I'm here to say you're wrong. You can. It's just a matter of how you can do it. And working with SearchLogic could be an opportunity for you to be able to move forward. It has been such a fantastic episode today. Some great questions and back and forth. We'll jump into the lightning round. I'll get a quick answer from each of you as we go through this and whatnot, and get to learn a little bit more about you guys. They're not too difficult of questions, but you ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Tea.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Dogs.
If you could grab only one item or weapon during a zombie apocalypse, what would it be?
My guns.
My guitar.
Guitar. Okay. How about a favorite quote or phrase that you think about often?
Ooh. I can't quote it off the top of my head because I wasn't expecting this, but the man in the arena is the one that I think about quite a bit.
It's a long one, but go look it up. Teddy Roosevelt, the man in the arena. Look up the quote.
I have a pretty common mantra I'll use, which is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Oh, that is a great one. Absolutely great one. How about one book that has influenced your life the most?
The Bible for me.
I'll say How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Yep. A great book. Great book.
Great one.
And the biggest obstacle you've had to overcome and one lesson you have learned from it.
I have failed quite a bit at business, and it's not one time, it's many small things and several large things. And you alluded to it earlier, but you have to pick yourself back up. The next day you've got to take the next step. If you take one step, you have enough strength to take a second step.
Without getting too dark or deep, I'd say a lot of loss and grief very early on, and just how to kind of like find the fork in the road where you can be consumed by grief and be consumed by loss, or you can succeed in spite of it, and how to recognize where that path is and which road to take.
Yeah, that's very, very, very powerful. It has been fantastic having you guys on the podcast today. What is the best way that our listeners can collaborate with you if they want to reach out?
Our website's going to be the number one spot, searchlogic.com, or you can email me, billy@searchlogic.com. Those two ways.
Excellent. We'll have all of that information in the show notes, and we'll get a link to that free PDF book from them and add that into the show notes as well for the listeners that are out there, or the description if you're watching this on YouTube. I want to thank everybody for enjoying the podcast today and listening. If you want to hear more from the Small Business Network, you can hit the link up here in the corner if you're watching this on YouTube, or just check out our profile on Spotify podcast or Amazon. And to all the listeners out there, until next time,